Hello, Aries. Welcome to your astrological forecast for March 2023. Now, as you know, March is the month that a lot of astrologers have been talking about over and over and over. The reason for that is because we have both Pluto and Saturn changing signs. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008, so it's been 15 years since he has transitioned. So we have been under that Capricorn umbrella for a very long time. And I think we can all intuitively feel that like a new era is ahead of us, but it still feels a little intangible for us right now. So let's talk about a couple of things. Okay, on March 7th, Saturn comes into Pisces. The 23rd, Pluto comes into Aquarius, and the 25th, Mars comes into Cancer. Now, I want to start down here with Mars because this is your ruling planet, obviously, and he did a huge retrograde down here in Gemini this year, since August. Third house is not a very stable house. So Aries, I would not be surprised if your life just felt like a giant tornado, if there was just like so much going on and there was a lot of learning and a lot of curiosity and a lot of new conversations with new types of people, and you've been collecting a lot of stuff. A lot of creativity coming out, a lot of playfulness, a lot of just experimentation. But the thing with the third house is that this is not really a place where projects come for completion. Okay, this is like the brainstorming phase. Completion comes in the 10th house with Capricorn. But third house is like, let's just write a whole bunch of stuff on sticky notes and post it on the wall, and then we'll kind of ruminate and see what stands out to us over time. So what's going to happen when Mars comes into Cancer is you're going to be standing there looking at your whole wall full of post-it note ideas, metaphorically, and you're going to say, okay, Spirit, guide me to where I need to be. Now, the thing that I'm feeling intuitively with what's going on here is I don't think that Aries is feeling very emotionally or passionately connected with a path. And that can be really disorienting a lot of times, is you kind of know where you want to go, but you don't really know how you want to get there. But I also don't know that this is going to be the greatest time for you to just throw your hands up and say, okay, Spirit, I trust you. Because if you do that, I'm a little bit worried because Saturn is in this 12th house here. And I feel like that path, it's just sort of hidden. This is a very hidden house. So Aries, you're going to have to take the bull by the horns a little bit on this. And you're going to have to just pick a path. And it's probably not going to feel right. And it's probably not going to feel very exciting. And it probably won't feel like you're living your purpose. But at least to some degree, you can see how you can get from where you are to where you want to be. And maybe it's not the perfect thing, but I think it is perfect. I do. I think it is perfect for you, Aries. You have to just do it. And when Mars comes into Cancer, you have the opportunity, that's all it is. It's just an opportunity to really change on a more molecular or cellular or neurological level. And all the ideas with the Mars thing in Gemini, in Cancer, you start taking one or two of those Post-its down, you stick them on a new board, and you say, okay, that's my focus. And then you just sit with it for a while, and you look at those Post-it notes every single day. Again, my Post-it notes are metaphorical, by the way. You look at those Post-it notes every single day, and you start to familiarize yourself with that path, or familiarize yourself with the concepts. And then you start to slowly take action in that direction. And I do think Aries is going to need slowness right now. I don't know that Aries is in a position to like power through and really push, because I think the harder and harder you push and the harder you work to establish structure, the more unhappy you'll become. I think you do still need a lot of freedom, and you do still need discipline, but you're also going to need a lot of flexibility as well. If you put yourself in a situation where you get locked in or fully committed to something, I think it's just the nature of the commitment is going to feel very imprisoned-like, right? There's a lot of prison and hospitalization energy that comes through with Saturn in the 12th. And so like, let's say you went and got a corporate job because you need the money. Okay, well, you go get a corporate job because you need the money, and then all of a sudden you feel like the walls are caving in on you and you're like, oh my gosh, that was such a bad decision. So this is why you have to take it slow, and you have to start, really formulating and strategizing a really good plan. Remember, you're not going to be emotionally excited about this. This is coming from a practical place, and that's it. It's just coming from a practical place. But you can be really, really, really successful with that. Like when you just decide to go do something that is not only good for you, but that also helps other people. When you just decide, this is what I'm going to do. Like when we're at a loss, you still have to just do something. Because I think if you sit around and wait, you're going to be sitting around for like 2 to 3 years with Saturn in the 12th. This is not a time to just sit around and wait, because it's going to be a lot longer than you realize, and time is just going to fly by, and it's going to be weird. And I think you'll, kind of maybe leave with some regret, which I know you don't want. So this is about applying yourself, and this is about really focusing on really more just getting results more than anything. Let's talk a little bit about Pluto coming into Aquarius. This is actually going to be really helpful for you. The past couple of years, Saturn has been through the 11th house, okay? And he has maybe made you withdraw. You realize that certain friends, certain groups, certain industries just simply were not for you, and so you pulled away. If you did pull away, okay, not everyone did. Maybe some of you really took that in stride and said, okay, it's time to start building these strategic relationships to help me in my career, to help me build something better, to help my business, to help my family, whatever the case may be. But I suspect many of you just sort of withdrew. And Pluto is going to come in now, and even though he's just barely touching in, he's going to start to show you just how important those relationships are. And I often see Pluto in the 11th house as kind of like one of those socialite people, like a New York socialite or something. These are people who understand the power of connections and understand that business, real money, real currency exchange is done through social events, right? It's done through lunches. It's done through meetings over coffee. It's done through entertainment. It's done through all sorts of these types of things. And so it's kind of a mix of pleasure and business. And Pluto is going to come in, and over the next 20 years, I think Aries is really going to learn the importance of that kind of stuff. Now, not every one of you wants to build an empire. Not every one of you wants to go be like, rubbing elbows with the New York billionaires or anything like that. I'm just saying, whatever your goals are, people are important. And you probably noticed a lot of severance. You were being strategically pulled away from the people that don't serve your future, leaving you kind of alone, only to now have this obsessive drive, because yes, Pluto in Aquarius will be somewhat obsessive. He always is. This obsessive drive to now connect. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of uniqueness that comes through here as well. So Aries is likely going to find the very things within them that makes them stand out and makes them special and makes them unique. And that uniqueness actually is amplified by being a part of something bigger than yourself. Because if you're just someone who's just alone, then that uniqueness isn't really in comparison to anything. That uniqueness has to be in contrast with everything that's going on around you. So associating with people is really the way to do that. So a lot of relationships, like you are going to grow insurmountably through relationships, through professional connections, through social connections, okay? And you're going to actually really want to do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was like step one on this plan of yours, right? Remember, you don't have the luxury of like throwing your hands up and saying, okay, universe, I trust you, because Saturn is here in the 12th. So the structure is just not really going to be able to come forward until it hits Aries in 25 and 26, okay? So you have to consciously like live in that structure as much as you possibly can and have that discipline. I lost my train of thought. Now I don't remember what I was talking about. I don't know. Anyway, it just kind of, it's a really good time for Aries though to just, oh, this was step one, right? Yes, your relationships, that should be step one of your plan. Who are the right people to start associating with, period. Do you have to go do like business networking stuff? No, not necessarily. You can just invite people to things. You can throw parties at your house. You can make sure you show up for happy hours. You can and you can be the leader in that. I know Aries, we always talk about, oh, Aries, Mars, the leader, but very rarely do I see Aries actually taking the lead. Maybe it's because many of you are Vedic Pisces. I'm not quite sure, but I think that is something that a lot of Arians need to really pull out from themselves, because Aries can be very like doing things for themselves. Like my sister is an Aries, and it's funny, like it's a family joke that my sister's first words were, I can do it myself. Like that was the first sentence she ever spoke, and she's an Aries. It's like, okay, yeah, I can do it myself. You can do it yourself, but doing it yourself is completely different from being a leader. Leaders don't just do it all for themselves, right? There's something so much bigger there. And so this is you kind of learning how to be a leader, how to position your unique self in front of many other people in order to pull everybody up. Because just because you're successful here doesn't mean not everyone else is. Everyone else, like your success comes with everyone else's success. You all go up together. Okay? But I do think your career is finally getting a break, which will be really nice. And of course, 11th and 10th houses are intrinsically connected. So there will be a lot of kind of release energy once Pluto officially leaves Capricorn. Now, we also have Jupiter in your sign. Now, again, this clock is set for March 15th. So beginning of March, Jupiter is still building up on Chiron. And on March 12th, they're going to come exactly the same degree. And then 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, Jupiter is going to start to separate off of Chiron. Now, I kind of feel like Aries got a little shortchanged on the Jupiter transit a little bit because Chiron was smack dab in the middle of the sign. But we have 2 months ahead of us still with Jupiter still here. It doesn't enter Taurus until May 16th specifically. And so we do have a little window here. Now, this, of course, is associated with your identity. A new identity is in order for Aries. Aries, you have to start seeing yourself differently. You just have to. And this has to be, I think, a part of Mars coming into Cancer and like really familiarizing yourself with the stuff that's on those 2 Post-its, right? Familiarizing yourself with the new concept and truly seeing yourself as the person that can truly have that life. And your sense of vision of yourself can just get bigger and bigger and bigger over the next couple of months. And of course, when Jupiter hits Taurus, there will be a lot of financial opportunity here, more so in terms of utilizing your skills and talent in a leverageable way in order to get you to where you want to be. But before you can start leveraging your skills and your talents, you have to see yourself as that person and integrate that into your identity and your self-concept. So right now, I would highly recommend doing your self-concept work as much as you possibly can, and just sort of journaling and whatever else it is you need to do, meditating, hypnosis, anything like that, to start seeing yourself as the best possible version of you. Because that is something that's you're going to need that to help you carry through with a lot of the promises that you're making to yourself. Because remember, you don't have the benefit of Saturn here. It's hard to really lean on him for support. As much as we give Saturn a bad rap, he at least offers us something to lean on when we get fatigued. We get to lean on our values. We get to lean on our past or certain people in our lives that have a certain presence. But again, in that 12th, it kind of feels inaccessible to us and we can feel lost at times. And so you need a really solid North Star to point and guide you so that you don't get lost and you don't wander. 12th house is like a wandering house, okay? Now, the final thing I really want to talk about is actually Venus, and I'm saying this kind of in the same way for every sign, so sorry if you're watching this again from a different sign, but this is going to be a really quiet conversation that's going on, okay? On March 16th, Venus comes into Taurus, which means she's immediately going to come into this conjunction with the North Node. Now, the North Node has a very unique personality. It is, I say personality, quote unquote. He's very ravenous and greedy, but there's a lot of desire that comes through with that North Node. This is why we call it in modern Western astrology, we call it a destiny point, because we have so much desire for that we tend to gravitate towards it. But the problem is that we don't really have any clue how to really embrace that in our lives. So for you, there's a lot of desire for money and to feel that sense of self-worth and to feel like you really know how to utilize your talents and your skills in a profitable way that can make your lifestyle a really great lifestyle. And with the North Node, though, it just kind of like piles up because there's no through channel. I think that North Node acts like a clog in the drain. It kind of stops everything up. It's like a car pile up. And all these, desires and thoughts and manifestations, they all just get backed up. Now, in July, that node is going to switch into Aries. And also in July, Venus is going to be retrograding over here in Leo. So this feels to me like a very subtle, now all these other things, Pluto, Saturn, Mars, even Jupiter, these are going to be so much louder and so much more prominent than Venus. I think Venus is just going to slowly move through and we're not even going to realize what the heck is even happening, okay? What she's doing, I'm using the same metaphor for everyone, so again, sorry if you're hearing me repeat this. She's coming home, right? Taurus is her her sign of rulership. She's coming home, and she has these two very weird house guests, okay? The North Node, like I say, which is this ravenous, greedy, unruly, unkempt type of person, and then we have Uranus, which is like an Einstein mixed with a social reform person mixed with full-on eccentricity, weirdness, craziness, okay? And here she is trying to be graceful and diplomatic and kind and, to be a gracious host or hostess. And She has to sit down and like really hear these two characters out. And I think with the North Node, there's a lot of conversation of like, what's all this stuff that's piling up? There's like a common theme. There's a common theme that comes through, and that's like the true value that you hold. You want these things because you value this. And Venus, I think, is extracting that. Remember, she has a lot to do with our value set. So she's really extracting. It's like, okay, you're telling me all the list of all the things you want. Let me go and ruminate. Let me think about this for a few months as she makes her way over to do her retrograde here in Leo. Let me think about this. Let me absorb the information. Let me process. And she will. She'll think about it like crazy as she is in Gemini, and she will process it like crazy when she is in Cancer. And then in Leo, she's going to make a statement. And she's going to express herself. And she is going to put herself, or put you, Aries, in a position to start really aligning yourself with what it is you've been asking for. And when that node leaves Taurus and enters Aries, that second house gets cleaned out. If you have struggled with the materialistic component of your life, again, not all Aries, but like if you've struggled financially, or if you've struggled with keeping a job, or you've struggled even staying passionate about a job, the fact that all this North Node leaving and Pluto leaving, and you've got nothing in Virgo here, like the fact that this is happening, all these earth houses are getting cleaned out, tells me that the earthy aspect of your life is really starting to flow. And even though we have Saturn over here, sometimes I feel like the 12th house kind of swallows things, but there is still an aspect here, which I like the shadow that Saturn is casting for your 6th house, because the structure for you really is going to come in through the daily habits. So like your daily habits mixed with an empty 10th house and a no longer a North Node in the second. Uranus, I don't mind. He's fine. Tells me that your material situation is going to vastly improve, as long as you stay disciplined and as long as you have that North Star. Now, if you take the more spiritual route, you could really disconnect more and more and more from the real world, quote unquote real world. Okay, you could be disconnecting more and more from the real world. But if you want to stay grounded and you want to stay present, you have all the astrology to support that. And I think we'll be really surprised. Like I say, this is going to be a quiet conversation that happens completely under the radar, to the degree where you probably don't even realize that it's happening. Okay? It will make more sense in July. In July, you'll be like, oh, that's what all that stuff in March was really about. Okay, that makes sense. Okay? And we'll talk more and more about it in the months to come. But I just wanted to prepare you for that. I didn't want to leave that one out, because I think this is actually a lot more relevant than we're kind of, maybe some other astrologers are giving it credit for. Okay? All right, Aries, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you so much. You guys know how much I love and adore you. Have an amazing month, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.